The town has hundreds of millions of dollars in assets, which depreciate and must be replaced at some point. The town is going to be here a long time, and so these projects need to be planned and have funding in place to address. The capital budget is where the big one-time expenditures occur. The town is in a catch-up mode on our capital requirements. As noted several times already, having plans in place that document each asset's condition, as well as replacement schedule and cost to replace, has not been prepared. It is very evident, however, that many of our town's assets are past their age life and several others that are nearing the end of their age life or require significant upgrades. Roads are a prime example. Many require repaving. One sign of deferred maintenance is when pavement has several cracks in it in an isolated area. This typically means the subsurface has been compromised, typically by water. This means that the subsurface requires repair, which is much more expensive than a simple resurfacing. The cost to repave is about $75 per meter. The cost to repair the supporting structure and the pavement is double that. This basically means we can have good quality pavement throughout the town for relatively the same price as letting it deteriorate. Having a good plan also helps reduce overall long-term costs. For example, if one knows we're going to replace a water main, rather than simply repaving the 10-foot strip, it is likely more cost-effective to redo all at once, especially if the pavement is near the end of its life. To do this requires planning and funding. As noted earlier, starting to put some funding away for roads and buildings assists with planning and is by far more cost-effective. Ideally, a financial plan should be at least 10 years and preferably 20. Having an idea of what the long-term financial expenditures look like provides a forecast to which informed decisions can be made. If one knows there are $50 or $60 million of improvements that must be made in about 7 years, short-term budget decisions may be different. The current water situation is a prime example of this. If information was prepared and presented earlier, maybe rates would have been increased earlier and more gradually. We may have also started to replace infrastructure during times when costs were 50 to 100% less expensive. I am committed to developing these plans and providing council and the public with the information that will enable all of us to see the true financial picture in an open and transparent manner. Some information may be positive and other negative, but being transparent is, in my opinion, administration's job. My goal is to then clearly illustrate and communicate plans, including which streets are planned to be repaved over the next 5 years, so residents can see where their tax dollars are going. We are a few years away from having good plans and the financial capacity to resource, but it is what needs to be done and is something you as residents and business owners deserve. Borrowing is a standard practice when there are required upgrades that enhance a service. For example, the water treatment plant. It is a new system and is an upgrade to which current and future residents will enjoy. As a result, borrowing for these upgrades is a standard practice. The same would hold true if a new amenity was built, like an aquatic center. This process is in effect supported by the province, in that they control the amount of debt municipalities can have. It would be impossible to repair and replace all existing infrastructure through borrowing under the current legislation. As mentioned before, and we are all somewhat aware of, we have a lot of assets. All require maintenance and at some point replacement. Here are some of those that we need to maintain. Council needs to balance all the needs and wants while looking at the financial status. Providing a foundation to which businesses flourish and residents have the services they need is obviously something administration and council considers. Even having all the plans in place, a plan is a plan. Plans change. Reality sets in, and decisions have to be made on what is ultimately the highest of priorities. Other pressures set in, and new information becomes available. Sometimes there are legislation changes that can alter a plan. Bottom line is that information is important. It allows for educated and informed decision making. Will information change over time? Yes. And will decisions change over time? Yes. Will we ever have enough data and enough funding to be perfect? No. But we will improve. Every one of the capital projects within the budget documents that is in the current year has an accompanying report which explains the project. Future years, years 2 to 5, have projects identified within the financial plan, but have no accompanying reports and are therefore placeholders. For the most part, the future projects will not proceed until debated in the upcoming budget cycle. There are risks with deferring capital budget items. Plans and studies help with decision making. An informed decision is always better than a hypothetical one. They are also typically required for grant applications. Some projects are funded by grants, whereby there are deadlines on the use of the funding. If projects are not completed within those deadlines, the funding can be revoked. It costs money to have shovel-ready projects, which may not come to fruition for several years. A shovel-ready project basically means that the design and engineering are complete and can proceed in very short order. Occasionally, larger grants come available whereby only those that are shovel-ready are considered. This requires upfront funding. Cutting these projects could mean the loss of substantial funding opportunities. Another issue is that some projects are linked to previous and/or future projects. Therefore, delaying one project can have further-reaching ramifications. On a bit of a side note, some people criticize the cost of projects. Our projects go out for competitive bids. These bids are graded and the best proponent is awarded the contract. Awarding large-scale projects without a bidding process in most situations is illegal.